Good morning, wrestling fans, and welcome to PWR Today. It's the man they call Meathead, the 2023 PWR Fantasy Draft winner, along with Linda King and Matthew Thomas. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? Or lady and gentlemen, how you doing?
Tremendous as always. You know the answer.
And I would like to be introduced as the upcoming first pick in the 2023-2024 draft. Oh, yeah.
Barf. Listen here, Peter Booyah, or whatever your name is. We are not talking draft yet, but we will be drafting next week. So WWE, in their usual shenanigans, has stolen our thunder and decided to put on a draft as well. You knew our draft was coming. The man they called Meathead not available last week. By the way, I don't know if I had mentioned it to you. You guys speculated on what was going on. I know I was said to be on assignment. Honestly, I was at Disney World because, when the Super Bowl MVP wins, what's the first thing he says? I'm going to Disney World. Well, I had a lot of parades I had to go to.
Right. Where's that trophy? You got a trophy this year, Meathead?
It's something like this, but I'm not quite sure. That's where my headphones sit.
That looks like kind of like abstract modern.
Actually,
art.
you know what? The trophy, I'm joking. The trophy is in the house somewhere. I'll have to call to the girls. Hey, girls! I'll have to have the girls bring me the trophy because I did win a trophy for winning that draft. So, all right. Well, that draft is over. The new draft again next week right here on PWR Today. But first, before we go any further, Matthew Thomas, tell us about what I'm wearing, what Linda's wearing, and not what you're wearing. Because Peter Booyah, I don't know who the hell this guy is.
I'm trying to do a little research myself, but it's very possible that Peter Booyah wears collar and elbow. When I'm wearing Peter Booyah apparel, he's wearing collar and elbow apparel, probably.
Probably.
Collarandelbowbrand.com. Promo code Linda K saves you 10%. So you can take that money that you save on your collar and elbow apparel and put it back into your campaign funds.
Yeah.
Okay. Linda K, why don't you tell me not about what you're wearing, because we love what you wear, but what else could we be using when we're going to these events that we go to?
Yes, you could be covered with a supplemental plan from ProWrestlingInsurance.com. Policies coverage as low as $8 a month could help provide you with some funds. Speaking of saving money, if you get hurt, you get paid. That sounds insane, right? But it is true.
Makes me want to go out and get hurt.
I mean, if you want to look at that way, sure, no. But just to make sure for your ease of mind, make sure to go to ProWrestlingInsurance.com and speak with our friend Chris. He can fill you in more about how you can have that supplemental plan to make sure you are covered if something happens, not just in the ring, but outside of the ring, whether you're a pro wrestler or not. Yes, it doesn't apply just to pro wrestlers. Obviously, we speak with many pro wrestlers. We work with many pro wrestlers, so we want to make this available to them. But for anybody, you can be covered. And again, ProWrestlingInsurance.com. Visit Chris. Find out also about event coverage if you're holding an event, as well as life insurance info as well. ProWrestlingInsurance.com. Make sure you are covered.
Fantastic. All right, let's get into the news real quick. This is kind of the big one here. It touches a little bit here locally in the Wisconsin area, and myself in the Appleton area, Matthew. Son of wrestling legend, the $1 Million Mad, Theodore Ted Dibiase Jr. No, that wasn't a wrestling name or a gimmick name. That was really their name, was Dibiase. Ted Dibiase Jr. is involved in misappropriation of funds. It says that he received millions in state aid intended for needy families, but the ex-wrestler used the funds to buy a vehicle and a boat. Former wrestler Ted Jr., the son of WWE legend Ted Dibiase, the $1 Million Man, was charged with fraud and theft of federal funds in connection with a Mississippi welfare scandal. Here's the Wisconsin connection that has also embroiled NFL great Brett Favre. Now, Brett Favre has been in the news for a long time that he also misappropriated funds, but it wasn't really Brett Favre misappropriating funds. I believe he was the lobbyist. Hey, let's go get somebody famous to schmooze with a bunch of people. Hey, it's Brett Favre. Hey, can we have millions of dollars? Oh, sure. Well, Ted Dibiase was one of the people that received funds, and apparently he is going to be... The funding was a sham, according to the news reports. Linda K, Brett Favre, Ted Dibiase Jr., where does it end?
I got to think back to what happened to Brett when this got announced. Was it earlier this year? It wasn't too long ago when this...
It was a couple of years ago, actually. This has been a story with Brett for at least 2 years.
Oh, I'm losing my span of time here. That's interesting. I guess you wouldn't necessarily put Ted DiBiase Jr. and Brett Favre together. I mean, in any type of realm, I wouldn't put that together, let alone.
Well, they both live in Mississippi. Mississippi.
Yeah, that's right. It's interesting. I don't really know too many details about this or what would happen to Ted Dibiase Jr. now that this has come about. But I mean, I'm curious to know the other participants, is that the right word, involved with this.
You know, Matthew, he's been charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and to commit theft concerning programs receiving federal funds, 6 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of theft concerning programs receiving federal funds, and 4 counts of money laundering. Everybody's got a price, Matthew Thomas. I guess this was the price for Ted Jr.
Yeah, no, that's I did not expect this news. I did not expect the tag team of Ted DiBiase Jr. and Brett Favre.
They didn't even get a title shot.
I know, to be making news. But hey, you know, I got to say, man, I can't really relate because I live in Denver where, yeah, our quarterbacks get a lot of funds, but they're just clean as a whistle, you know?
Well, clean as a whistle as far as, you know, winning anything or, you know, doing anything of any relevance. Because once they joined Denver, Russell Wilson went, okay. Well, Ted Jr., you know what? His lawyer basically said, we're confident that when the process is finished, we will be clear that the government's theory is misguided and that their allegations cannot be substantiated as they pertain to Teddy DiBiase. A return for Ted DiBiase. Will he be in the draft, Matthew?
Ooh.
No.
You need to watch last week's episode, man. You may have already drafted him when we took the first picks.
Yeah, yikes. All right. Moving on to the next story here. The WWE is asking multiple states' gambling regulators, sounds like they're lobbying again, to allow betting on professional wrestling matches. Matthew, would you have bet on Ted DiBiase Jr. to get busted with Brett Favre? And should we have legalized gambling on wrestling matches that are predetermined?
It just sounds like a horrible idea. Am I intrigued by it personally? You know, do I think I know enough about the industry that, you know, I can put my decade plus experience as a professional wrestling analyst to work and make some money, or, you know, potentially be a consultant for people that, you know, want to make money betting on professional wrestling? Very possible. There's part of me that's intrigued, but it's one of those things that's like, you know, I got to follow that in my box of ideas that, hey, I'm really intrigued by this, but if I step away from it and look at it rationally, it's probably a really bad idea.
Linda, you know, I know that, what is it, DraftKings, I believe, that has betting on it with WWE and AEW. But honestly, they're betting on stuff like how many chairs will be used, how many tables will be broken. There is still so much room for shenanigans. Let's say that, you know, what's the first weapon to be used in a Falls Count Anywhere match or something like that. You know, who's to say that the 2 participants in a match or the producer of a match go, hey, I need you to use a kendo stick first. I've got a couple bucks riding on this.
Right. Cards always subject to change as well.
Right.
Well, hey, I want to throw this out there too, because I went down the rabbit hole a little bit a few weeks ago when they were really
I don't want to know what kind of videos you watch, but go ahead and talk about wrestling.
Well, anyway, it was like a white rabbit hole, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, Bray Wyatt and
he's married.
Jefferson.
Continue on. Yeah.
So
all right.
concern is that also this potentially affects the product, because if you're gonna have, you know, this type of deal, you're gonna have to go almost into the match with nobody knowing what's going on until day of. And so,
but who regulates that?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you go back to the way WWE was trying to present it. I mean, it quintessentially almost sounded like Vince had him a little envelope, like the Oscars or something, you know? And so, like, you get into the point of really having to pitch ideas to people saying, hey, you're going over this guy, or you're not going over. And this is a business where, you know, not everybody always likes to do the job. And this would potentially actually really change the product as well.
Well, the product, and that's what we're talking about. This is a product which has gained mainstream notoriety over the last 15 to 20 years, which has become, broadcast on ESPN, news there. That's Sports Illustrated reports on it, CBS, ABC, Fox, all these sites and all
Variety.
these real
all the entertainment sites.
Yeah, all the entertainment sites, all these real news sources now announce and, report on wrestling. So now that wrestling wants to get into the gambling, I understand that the NFL, gambling slipped into the NFL, gambling slipped into, major sports. I mean, you got, Chuck Barkley sitting on the couch talking to young Chuck Barkley, about what he would do in a game. I don't like it. I don't like it at all, Linda.
It's just interesting. How much will it affect the outcomes? Like, what is more of a benefit of being involved if you're looking at it as a business and a financial standpoint? If you are the promotion, how much does that sway certain decisions and how the matches go?
And the thing of it is, like, the whole betting landscape of pro sports, I don't do it, but I've got a friend who fairly actively does it. And going into the Super Bowl, I mean, he was telling me there were companies taking bets. There was a line on whether Rihanna was going to show cleavage at the halftime show. These are literally
What's
things.
The definition of cleavage?
I don't know. You might be showing cleavage right now, Meathead.
Right. I mean, if I kind of dip it a little in there, if one chesticle hair comes out, is that cleavage?
Possible.
I mean, what's the definition of cleavage? Like if I show an exposed kneecap,
Hey, can you name this week's show? What's the definition of cleavage?
Yes, cleavage. Yeah, one chesticle hair. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the last bit of news before we break down what happened last week in the world of professional wrestling. And let's talk about June 17th. Does anybody know what June 17th is? Does anybody have an idea? It's a Saturday, June 17th. Anything special about June 17th?
I believe it's Night of Champions.
Night of Champions in WWE? Oh.
I believe.
Okay. Do we know the city that it's coming from?
Oh, I digress. Never mind. Go on, carry on.
No, go ahead. No, let's go ahead and say it.
It's Saudi Arabia. I might be months off, you guys. Maybe it's the 17th of a different month. I just looked ahead at my calendar and
Night of Champions. Night of Champions, Saturday, May 27th.
Oh. I'm a little off. I'm sorry.
In Jeddah. In Jeddah.
But see? I think you're speaking of something a little more close to home taking place.
Well, close to home for Linda and Matthew.
17th. Or to many within
I live in Saudi Arabia.
Greater United States of America.
In the Midwest, the Great Lakes region, as we call it, because we're big fans of Great Lakes Championship Wrestling. And we're also friends with, fans of, or really familiar with, and we've seen him in Mid-American for a long, long time. He was in Milwaukee when he was training for his UFC fights at Rufus School. I believe that's what he called it, or I know it was with Duke Rufus, but CM Punk, hypothetically, is scheduled to return to AEW at the United Center in Chicago. They have a show planned on Saturday, June 17th. To me, that sounds like Forbidden Door, if I were to take a shot, because I think they locked in Forbidden Door for Chicago, even though, again, that kind of show needs to move around. Linda, you and I went to AEW in Milwaukee just a couple weeks ago, and no, I wasn't lost after the parking ticket. Yeah, no, but Forbidden Door, AEW only made one appearance in Milwaukee, and that's apparently going to be the only appearance that they make throughout the entire year in Milwaukee. Is this one that we just had, the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. They say that it's going to be at Ontario, Canada. I thought it was in Chicago this year. It's at the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So Punk showing up on the 17th, possibly Battle of the Belts. Who knows? Linda, let me ask you this. CM Punk, when he returned to AEW in the United Center on a rampage, the pop was probably the biggest wrestling pop I've ever heard. It rivaled the Jericho debuting on August 9th, 1999 for the Y2J countdown. That pop can't happen again. Do you think the fans will welcome him because it's Chicago, or welcome him because we want him back?
Especially in Chicago and it being his first night returning. that this all indeed happens, yes, it will be a we love you, welcome back pop. I think that as they go along to other cities, he will still get that love of a welcome back. Maybe not quite as much, just kind of given what, you know, transpired in the past year or so. I don't, as far as people's views, I mean, what I'm thinking is how much have the fans really missed his absence? That's where I'm kind of coming from.
Okay.
Will they really accept what they've heard, how he's portrayed once again, what he's going to say? I think that it won't be quite as welcoming as last time, just because, again, that was that 7-year absence, and it was.
And he was basically made to leave wrestling because of what WWE did to him. That was the words that we heard from him. So he was welcomed back, welcomed home. People cried, Linda,
Yeah,
when he
I had
came
the
back.
feels, absolutely.
I had the feels too. I rewatched it. I just watched it again like last week because I want to see that video because that pop. And again, just him jumping into the crowd and Excalibur, great. You have waited 7 years. You only have 90 more seconds to hear CM Punk talk when we come back right here on AEW Rampage. I thought that was an amazing business move. Now, Linda, I'm going to ask Matthew in a second here, but I want to ask you first. Do you want CM Punk back? It's a loaded question.
I think down the road, yes. Wouldn't
Okay.
hurt to shake things up here and there. We never really got
We never got the finish. We never got to
finish.
completion. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just kind of got left unsatisfied. Yeah.
When it does,
You just kind of rolled over and said, "Okay, I'm going to bed." Gotcha.
Yeah. But I think right now we can still pause on that, just because we haven't had that much time to breathe from that. We've gotten the return of Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, the Super Elite, but I still want to build on that, and then Omega having his own singles run again, and Young Bucks having their own tag team run again, versus them being trios, and just something so much more could be just building off what we have currently before we bring in Punk again to stir things up.
Okay. Matthew Thomas, I want you to tell us how you feel about when Punk returned 7 years ago, how you felt. Punk could be coming back, quite possibly at the show at the United Center also. I mean, Forbidden Door is just, 8 days away from that show as well. So, Matthew, when Punk returns, because it's almost a foregone conclusion, though, that Punk will return to AEW, where are you going to be?
I'll watch it.
Okay.
This works if he comes back as a heel. I don't think you need
Instantly.
So
he walks into Chicago and turns a heel?
I don't think he necessarily needs to go after cheap Chicago, but I don't think
he's not going to get it.
No, I don't think he needs to present himself as likable in any capacity, because here's where I think Punk is at. There are a lot of people that were Punk fans that have just soured on the guy, and I think you're, and I maybe I'm speaking personally for me, but take what happened or didn't happen backstage with the Bucks and Omega and Ace Steel and Larry
and the dog.
Yeah. I think all you have to do is go back to that press conference and watch how Punk conducted himself at that press conference.
In front of the owner. Right.
In front of the owner, cutting Tony Khan off, the comments, hey, we're all learning as we go, this, that, and the other. And I think it really presented an opportunity where the nose on that plane was coming down for a little while in AEW right there, and thankfully they've been able to pull it up. But it really gave the perception. And again, I'm speaking for myself, but here's how I looked at it. You've got this alternative to WWE that is not always spot on. They haven't been perfect by a long shot, but you have got the quintessential example of this former WWE guy coming in there, basically just being very, very upfront in this cluster that breaks free this night when he won the title. And, it didn't tank the company, but what that also did, I think, to a lot of wrestling fans is this Punk narrative of, oh, this was the guy that was screwed over by WWE. This was the guy that was screwed over, blah, blah, blah. You start looking at it and you're like, oh, Punk was the one constant in all of this. All this stuff that I've been hearing about Punk that, it's everybody against Punk. Well, here Punk is again in this, you had this 1 year or less than 1 year span of a really, really great feel-good moment. And then you've got all this stuff with Punk happening again. And it definitely, it soured as a professional wrestling fan, it soured my opinion and my willingness to want to watch, Punk return again, because you're just like, all right, are we going to go through this one more time? So, yeah, I think it'll be a big moment. I think it'll be a big moment, but I don't think it's going to be the feel-good moment like it was originally. And I don't even think it's going to be the feel-good moment like it was if Punk went away when he got hurt and came back. I think it's going to be, I think you've got to play it the right way to present it to the wrestling fans here. And I don't think that's Punk as a feel-good babyface.
No. And to be completely honest, you made a great point in that whole thing there, which was we don't need to know what happened backstage. Right. We saw front stage at the press conference how much of a douche nozzle he was.
Yeah.
And let me take this back. He was being a douche nozzle. Is that really what he is? We don't know. Maybe they were working us. I don't know. I don't care. What was presented to me in a realistic fashion was that he was a douche nozzle. Had no respect for the owner, who had literally just stared at him the whole time while he's eating a muffin from down the street. Yeah. And some random 6-pack of netted, seltzer water. It was so odd. It was so odd. But it doesn't help either that this new show, All Access, just came out, and we get to hear the victims of the Elite, because they're playing them up as victims. And I'm sick of it. It's gross. I don't want anything to do with it. What we do need, though, is we need to sell out All In September in London. So we need CM Punk back. We need him to have a one-on-one match with Kenny Omega. Not for a title, not necessary, but we need to have a Punk be heel and go up against the Elite.
Does it work? Does he bring himself back into your good graces any better if he just from the start does nothing but eat muffins during his promos? Can't hardly understand what he's saying. He's like the guy in that 90s guy.
So you're saying his spit take is a muffin take?
Yeah, like the whole Aaron Burr radio call-in show from the Got Milk commercial where he can't even talk because he's got muffins. 15 straight minutes of a discernible promo just because he's munching on muffins.
No, but because I know the Muffin Man, right? The Muffin Man. No, and I've munched on a muffin here and there. I munched on. I've done it. It's there's a life before my life, right? So I've done a lot of that stuff. However, to win me back, I need CM Punk to own it. Not on TV, because TV we can't buy. We're worked, not worked. Whatever. I need him to have a side interview with some sort of people, with Kenny and the Bucks in there. I need Larry the Dog in there shaking hands with Michael Nakazawa. I need everybody to kiss and make up. Ace Steel's not coming back. We don't know Ace Steel. No, I think he honestly was the powder keg to kind of light everything up there. Here's the thing, though. This isn't new for CM Punk. CM Punk has been this type of person. Be it good or bad, CM Punk is, for lack of a better term, millennial. He's got a lot of feelings out on front, right? And he puts them out there. And if you upset his feelings, oh boy, he's going to send you burning, just like a Chicago fire. There won't be a Second City CM Punk, because this one won't be coming back. So I think we're in the consensus. We want to see him back on TV. In what capacity, what form? There was talk from Eric Bischoff who says, you know what, Tony, why don't you go ahead and make it Goldberg versus CM Punk? You need to sell out, Wembley Stadium. I don't want Goldberg in AEW. I don't know about you guys, but please, 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 no. Matthew, Goldberg, Punk? No.
Sold me on it.
No, Linda. I know you'd be excited to see Goldberg back, but do you want him against Punk at All In?
No, I envision Goldberg solely WWE, WCW. That's what all I see Goldberg.
Well, I mean, if he's going to go to All Elite, the next step should be Great Lakes Championship Wrestling, because I mean, we need to have Goldberg at a show there. We'll sell a Blizzard Brawl with that.
Let me go back. I want to see him, but I want to see him as MJF's muscle. Okay, everybody in the Pillars has their buddy. MJF needs a buddy. It's Goldberg as MJF.
Who's your buddy?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go into the week that was. We kind of ran long on those three topics, but let's talk about Dynamite and let's talk about the Pillars. You know, you really explained it great there, Matthew, and you kind of set us up. Now, here's what was unique about what happened on Dynamite last week. The Pillars, the faces went after each other, and the heels went after each other, talking about how they each had a buddy, you know, to build them up. There is a Pillars tournament now. Darby Allin got a bye. It was Jungle Boy and Sammy Guevara to see who took on Darby Allin, to see who takes on MJF. Honestly, I think this whole play back and forth is fun, but I need a four-way at, is it All Out? No, it's Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing. I need a four-way for the AEW Heavyweight Championship at All Out. Matthew Thomas, your thoughts on the Pillars story that we have going on?
Yeah, no, I think that's the way this is ultimately headed, and I like the fact that they're not just straight up giving that to us. You know, they're giving us a tournament, and you know whatever is going to come out of the tournament, you know, comes out of the tournament. But
it's goofy though. The tournament's goofy. I mean, there's three guys in a tournament.
I will say this though, I think when you have the Pillars out there in ring, you need MJF. I think MJF is the glue that holds all these four together, because this show started with no MJF. He kind of came in a little bit later, and it did not seem to be the successful back and forth promo that we'd had in recent weeks where you've got MJF involvement. It fell a little bit flat initially before we got MJF involved.
Okay. Linda Kay, MJF, Darby Allin, Jungle Jack Perry, because they keep making reference to that, Matthew, and that's been a point that you have brought up forever. They lose the boy in the conversation there. It's not Jungle Boy Jack Perry. They've been saying Jungle Jack. Now, Jungle Jack Perry, they're making him a man now because he's in the heavyweight championship. Can't have a boy going for the heavyweight championship. But Linda, your thoughts on the Pillars story and tournament that's been set up?
I agree with Matthew. It's another unique way to keep this going without it being straight on. This is who you're going to face, or something more predictable. I am, like, to your point, to Meathead, excited to see this being a four-way match at Double or Nothing. We've got a few weeks to go, but this is how I felt when we were going to, I think it was Revolution, when we had MJF and Bryan Danielson, excuse me, how they would keep things going, how much they have to stretch this, because there were weeks leading up to that pay-per-view, but I thought they did an excellent job. And I think now, especially with the involvement of four Pillars, we could make this stretch out into being something big. And again, I hope we do get that four-way match, that payoff that we want at the next pay-per-view.
Absolutely. AEW Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, took on the Outcast, Ruby Soho, and Toni Storm with Saraya. And this was weird to me. Jamie Hayter's the women's champion, right? But this is Pittsburgh, and Britt Baker got the save in Pittsburgh. So is Britt Baker going to turn on Jamie Hayter, or did they just book this weird, Linda?
I still feel there's going to be a turn when Jamie Hayter, or on her way to becoming the AEW Women's Champion. I kind of felt, I mean, we saw it, right? All of us on TV, where it's like, did it seem that if it was portrayed as her, having, I don't know if it's jealousy, or maybe she felt entitled to it.
And maybe Jamie Hayter's jealous and wants to be her hygienist.
Yes.
Her dental hygienist. That'd be a thing.
That happened in Pittsburgh or Pittsburgh. Interesting, but I still feel that there will be a turn down the line. But right now, no, I think keeping them together as a unit is great, especially with the All Access show right now as well. And with Adam Cole returning, I think it's
baby.
Yes, that we keep Britt Baker as a babyface. But I do feel at some point Britt's gonna come at Jamie Hayter. I mean, hey, she was. I mean,
I'd take a run at Jamie Hayter.
Britt is I mean, just thinking of AEW in the women's division, I think of Britt Baker.
She's the face. She is the face of it. All right, Matthew Thomas, Britt Baker, and Jamie Hayter still faces. Your thoughts on that match?
Yeah, I mean, I think they just kind of shuffled it around to get Britt that hometown pop. I think it kind of speaks to how they've been booking the women's division. If you really step back, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make a ton of sense. Of note, now we actually had like matching attire for the Outcast, so it's looking like they're actually dressing like a tag team now. So I don't know. To me, the Outcast feels like an angle that belongs in the 90s. It feels very much like Clueless meets the NWO. The spray paint, the L stuff, it just does not feel like a 2023 post-women's revolution angle.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, this is what happened here. We have a coach back. We haven't seen this coach Double A in a while. He might have been put away for murder. Remember, he said he was going to kill somebody. Kidding, of course. But Powerhouse Hobbs with QT Marshall, his coach, and Wardlow with now Arn Anderson following around Wardlow for the TNT Championship. We have a 3-time TNT champion, Wardlow. I actually enjoyed this because here's what I enjoyed about it. The TNT Championship, I don't care if it's hot potato with this one. It's the TNT Championship. I don't mind surprise title changes.
I was a little surprised at how quick this changed hands, though. I mean,
that's
I know
okay.
that Hobbs and Wardlow definitely have a feud. I think there's definitely much more we can build on this between the two of them. But hey, hot potato. Maybe next week we'll go back to Hobbs.
Hot potato.
And I will say, I think there is a little bit of room for that in professional wrestling now. I mean, you've got the WWE where Roman Reigns held the title for 37 years.
Right, and Gunther is at over a year now, right? The tag team champions were over a year, and is the next possible TNT champion Luchasaurus because he's got shoulder pads that have spikes growing out of them.
It's possible.
All right, well, Switchblade Jay White is now officially All Elite, and he took on Commander. Okay.
Yeah.
I got nothing here.
Was what it was.
Chris Jericho and Adam Cole, Matthew, face to face. I did not realize this, but it makes me like Adam Cole even more. Chris Jericho's always been kind of my number one, for the last 25 years or so. But Adam Cole's baby came from Chris Jericho. Come on, baby! Because remember, he used to do that pinfall attempt with his arms up like this and yell baby. And that's where Adam Cole took it. Did you know that, Matthew?
No, I didn't. That's news to me.
How cool is that? And if it's not real and he just made it up on the fly, that's cool too. But your thoughts on Cole and Jericho face to face?
I'm looking forward to this. We're at a point in AEW where it was this, and it was like, was it Sammy? Was it the Sammy match, Sammy and Jungle Jack, where like it had never happened in AEW before? So what I'm running into, AEW's roster is so big now, there's a lot of paths that I'm assuming have crossed that have never crossed. So I think that, good on the commentary for calling out the specialness of the moment.
Well, Linda, the Acclaimed took on the Jericho Appreciation Society, Cool Hand, Angelo Parker, Daddy Magic, and Jake Hager. And you and I both were in the building to witness this. We almost saw nipples cut off with scissors.
I mean, AEW likes to push the envelope. Get some color.
It was awkward. Linda, I forgot to mention this. Did you guys talk about this last week? There was more Ring of Honor after Rampage went off the air. I had to go. I couldn't do it anymore. There was an hour of Ring of Honor tapings, 2 hours of Dynamite, 1 hour of Rampage, and they gave us more Ring of Honor afterwards. Thank you, Tony, but it's got to stop.
Hey, they've got the ROH shows. You got to get them filmed at somewhere and at some point.
Okay.
Cool. They're
cool
great.
Story.
Yeah, it is a lot to consume in one night, though. That's what she said.
Whoa, Matthew Thomas. Let's go to the main event, and it's Sammy Guevara and Jungle Jack Perry, even though the website still calls him Jungle Boy. Your thoughts on Sammy moving on to take Darby this Wednesday?
It's a very odd storyline, the whole thing with MJF. I'm in it to see where it goes. Like I said, I think it's still gonna result in a 4-way. But I'm along for the ride. I like the play between you're getting the very disingenuous friend MJF like you had at the beginning of AEW with him and Cody. And I'm kind of enjoying seeing this variation of MJF coming back.
All right. Well, let's move on to SmackDown and Solo Sikoa overcomes Matt Riddle in a no DQ match, obviously with help from the Usos. Solo has only suffered one pinfall defeat in. Well, I don't know if he had any pinfall defeats in NXT, but since he's been on the main roster, he is protected, and I absolutely love this.
And the interesting thing, he's kind of the background guy for the Bloodline, but they are really, really protecting him as a threat, and it's very, very good. It's very good booking, and as we've kind of gotten post WrestleMania, I mean, I think that Solo probably has the most to gain out of this Bloodline storyline the way it is right now.
Yeah, because it's really shooting him right to the top. Damian Priest and Finn Balor defeat Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar. The LWO, we haven't even touched on this really in the last few weeks since WrestleMania. The LWO is in effect, the Latino World Order, and I don't think it's no surprise why the LWO was put together right before WrestleMania, because they got a show to promote in Puerto Rico, Linda. But Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar not being positioned very strongly.
Yeah, not in that match. And I like that, again, when you have so many involved, there's so many different angles that you can, present to us. We've got several members of the LWOs and several members of the Judgment Day. And heck, on Raw last week, we had involvement within the Bloodline. I think this is great. There's so many different ways, so many different matches that can come about from this. But let me see. Backlash is in 2 weeks. This gives some time to build some more strength for the LWO. You would think so. I mean, we got, the announcement of Selena Vega getting her match is against Rhea Ripley.
Because she's Puerto Rican.
But I think that's great. I mean, and then it's a great way to help promote LWO or what guys give more strength, more.
I think so.
Yes. So I enjoyed seeing that. She's a friend of the show as well. So great to see that happen.
I know her pastor, the guy that married her. Don't we know him?
Yeah, we do. So she's a friend of the show here.
Yeah, definitely a friend.
No. But to your point though, or to answer your question more, we got next week. And then Backlash live in Puerto Rico as well before the actual pay-per-view to really, really strengthen and highlight LWO. The newly
reformed LWO with Rey Mysterio at the helm. Let's go to Rampage and let's talk about Rampage. Jon Moxley against the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels, still unretired, Matthew Thomas. And we'll have to get our guy Bay Dalla in here, Drew Bay in here, and ask him if he still feels bad about me yanking those points for Christopher Daniels being retired, Matthew.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he didn't mind you doing that yanking that you did. But yeah, no, he's still going strong, man.
He's a married man.
Good to see him as always.
Well, unfortunately for Christopher Daniels, Moxley with the big win, and in a, I don't know if I'd call this uncharacteristic, but at the end of the match, Moxley offers his hand as a show of respect to Christopher Daniels. I thought the Blackpool Combat Club were hitting people with screwdrivers in their eyeballs.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe it's a long-term storytelling where he had like a staph infection on his hand and he was trying to pass it along.
Oh
that's not the way staph infections work. I know.
All right. We hear from the Hardys, Matt, Jeff, the FTW champ, Hook, and Isaiah Cassidy. And Jeff said he's here in AEW to end his career on a high note. Linda, you and I were in the building, Matthew, to see the return of Jeff Hardy. That place, the roof blew off of it. I don't know if you guys talked about this on the show last week, but to see Jeff run down that ramp, what is freshly painted chair, which was awesome. We've seen the highs and the lows of Jeff Hardy. Literally sometimes up close, and sometimes we've, seen him on pay-per-view, whatever. We want the highs from Jeff Hardy. We want him to be happy, healthy, and we want him just to enjoy what he's doing. Please let this be the last happy, healthy run for Jeff Hardy.
Yes, let's hope so. And again, speaking of the feels, that was definitely a moment witnessing that live. What a huge surprise, and great to see Jeff looking so well right now. And yes, hoping for things to remain as great as they are for him.
In a humongous match, just with a lot of people getting on the show, AEW World Tag Team Champions Wheeler and Harwood, Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. Wait, hold on. It was FTR, Wheeler and Harwood, against Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. Wait, oh, no, hold on. It was an 8-man tag. There was so much going on here. It was Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood, Jay Lethal, and Jeff Jarrett with Smart Mark Sterling, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh versus Ari Daivari, Josh Wood, Slim J, Tony Nese, Linda Kay, Matthew Thomas, the man they call Meathead, and Chucky Smooth, I believe, from 1996, Mid-American Wrestling. Linda, this match had a lot of people.
Yeah. There's always AEW is very fast paced, right? We see a lot of the matches are multi-man matches, and the crowd, though, I mean, we were just there live. The AEW crowd, not saying other promotions don't want that, but I just really associate that with the AEW crowd, just wanting the fast pace, the high flying action, the weaponry, if you will, the color, the just outrageous surprises within the match. Like, what can outdo what we've seen in the past? So I don't know. It's still very
and Matthew, you can speak to this as well. Linda and myself, we can speak to it as well. Having as long a night as AEW has given us for our money, which thank you again, Tony Khan, but you got to keep us up. And I mean, we had, as a main event, El Hijo del Vikingo taking on Dualistico with Jose the Assistant, Roosh, and Preston Vance. I'm looking at these names going, if I were to use my English language, that's Rush, that's Viking Go. I mean, I'm struggling here.
He had robbed in Milwaukee with that presentation with AEW, with ROH, and just having WrestleMania a couple weeks ago. They're trending longer than a night of WrestleMania at this point.
They are trending longer than a night of WrestleMania. However, we still got a great match versus Vikingo and Dualistico. Now, LFI attacks Vikingo after the match. This was for the AAA Championship. It was the Mega Title Championship. I'm going to say this again. I'm going to sound like I'm, repeating myself and I'm beating a dead horse here. This is AEW. Why are you presenting me this other thing that I have no investment in? Matthew.
Yeah, I mean, Tony's bought a bunch of stuff, and he's kind of trying to still figure out how to present it. And it's all
he's got a lot of toys, and he's trying to figure out how to play with them in front of you.
Together, and I don't know that that's the right way to do it.
All right. AEW with a big week of wrestling action. Hey, coming up tonight, Monday the 17th, Monday the 24th, we have Raw from Chicago. Now, if there was ever a building that always acts like a post-WrestleMania, it's Chicago. As much as I don't like the, what's the building called now, Linda?
Allstate Arena.
Allstate Arena. Used to be the Rosemont Horizon, right? Yeah. Smells like an armpit in there. It is an old building, but it is a hot building for wrestling action. With everything going on in Chicago tonight and the draft starting this Friday on SmackDown, what do you think we're going to see, Linda Kay?
I hope some more surprises as far as talents appearing, but no, I think the main focus of this will be Bad Bunny, furthering that storyline.
Okay, so the bunny will be bad in Chicago, you saying that we're going to have a bunny show up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he'll definitely be there. So we'll see what happens, what transpires, because we haven't seen him since he went to that table. So he's going to come in and answer Damian Priest a little bit further. And with Backlash again being now less than 2 weeks away, should be really interesting what transpires.
Matthew Thomas, we've got a lot of other stuff coming up this Monday night, tonight for Raw. And we're going to be heading into Backlash next week, Saturday. So what are you expecting to see?
CM Punk.
Matthew Thomas.
Matthew
Thomas. That is not a swerve. That is just a noodle thrown at a wall to see if it sticks. Mm-hmm. Now that we're talking about draft, again, I know I told you that for winning the draft, I got a trophy. My daughter may even actually bring the trophy into the room so we could present the trophy on air that I won for the PWR Fantasy Draft. What are we going to see in the PWR Fantasy Draft for the 23-24 season, Linda Kay?
You will see any last-minute changes decided from Team Longtime being made on the fly and not delayed, because indeed that is proved show. Hey, you live and you learn. and I know what I need to do this time. I've never come that close to being the winner of the PWR Fantasy Draft, other than this past season. Very end there, it was almost like a baton race where just around the final brink of the racetrack, you went ahead. So I won't let that happen once again.
Gotcha. You were the hare and I was the tortoise, and I kind of beat you at the end where I just kind of said slow and steady, huh? Matthew Thomas, I'd like to let you know that there has been a presentation of a trophy. Ooh. The trophy is here. I've got the trophy, right? It is now time to ask you, Matthew Thomas, what are you going to do to win the trophy this year, which I know you're not going to. So.
Maybe not anything differently than I did last year. I may have had it spot on last year. I was just a year early. You stop and think about it. If I take my same team verbatim this year, this might be the year with that entire roster. So maybe I don't change a thing.
Well, as a multi-time winner and a multi-time trophy holder, remember I won that one draft here that Dave didn't even know I was in the draft the whole time. Remember that year where I literally walked in and took the trophy right in front of him, drank from it. He called me out by my name on air. That I wasn't happy with. But Cal presented me with the trophy that year. I was so proud of Cal for doing such a great job. I mean, look at how great Cal's doing now. We're going to see him this Saturday. Matter of fact, I believe Cal's coming to Appleton. I mean, how about that? You know, because we just saw Cal, and Linda, we'll get to that in a second. We just saw Cal down in Cedarburg. But, you know, I might have to have Cal present me with an award for this coming trophy, or for this coming draft as well, as the champion. Absolutely. We might have to do that. That might be something we might have to talk to Cal when he's in Appleton this Saturday. Linda, you were down in Cedarburg this last Saturday. What happened down there?
Well, we had a show back at Circle B, the home of our GLCW shows there in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. It was the Chairman Comet. We had AEW Superstar, the Perfect 10, Sean Spears, in the house there with a tremendous match. Him and Luke Curtis, OVW. That was a tremendous match, as well as, of course, in the main event, we had the fanny pack kid, Cal.
The kid with the fanny pack is my favorite.
Yes, it was a 2 out of 3 falls match against Psycho Boy Fodder, accompanied by Psycho Girl Angelina Love. And yeah, it was a tremendous show. I mean, it's always packed there at Circle B, and telling everybody, come in and see the matches there at Circle B and throughout the greater Wisconsin area. Is that the right term? Greater throughout Wisconsin. We've got some other shows coming up. Our next,
there's a summer tour. I mean, I know Great Lakes Championship Wrestling's on the summer tour in 2023. So
yeah, there's a lot of shows coming up. I always stay up to speed on those dates at blizzardbrawl.com. The next major show we have coming up would be Crusher Fest.
Yeah, tell me about it. Who's going to be there?
Yeah, it's going to be Saturday, June 3rd and Saturday, June 4th, downtown South Milwaukee, right by the beautiful Crusher statue. We are going to, this past week there, we had Iron Mike Kirkhoff from CBS 58 News had a daily announcement of the 5 special guests that will be at Crusher Fest this year.
Save the big one at the end for Matthew Thomas there, Linda.
I will. If I mean, I was gonna go in the order that it was announced, but I'm just gonna go in the order how I had it written down last night as I announced the special guests. First, WWE Hall of Famer Cowboy Bob Orton will be there. Also, WWE Hall of Famer Greg the Hammer Valentine. We also have a member of the New Rockers, Marty Jannetty.
There you go. Matthew, when are you coming in? Sorry, there's no airport in South Milwaukee. You'll have to fly into Milwaukee, and then the oxymoron as in downtown South Milwaukee. But we'll get you down in the South Milwaukee area.
Fantastic.
Yes. And also, Marty's New Rocker tag team partner, Leif Cassidy, will be there, a.k.a. Al Snow.
Uncle Al.
Yes. And lastly, just announced this past Friday, another WWE Hall of Famer, the $1 Million Man, Ted Dibiase Jr.
Here's the problem, and I feel for Ted on this one. Dude, I guarantee you he will be asked about it 1,000 times. And Ted, hopefully, he'll be the professional and go, I'm not quite sure. I have nothing to say about it right now, and just move on, because that would be annoying if I were him. So hopefully everything goes good for him.